my top 5 Black Clover villains. Number 1 is Patri. He really is an antagonist that becomes a not the protagonist, but he becomes a good guy. But I thought he was really good. So he's number 1. I'd probably put Veto number 2. I think Veto is a super underrated villain. Like, for the last maybe 2 years, maybe even more, people, even Black Clover fans, they talk about how Black Clover has no good villains and it's only Patri. And even sometimes I've like kind of agreed with that, but I always forget about Veto. Veto is actually legit a good villain. Like, legit. And sure, he becomes a good guy too. Like, he gets brought back as an elf, and then, he doesn't actually really do much as a good guy in the elf arc. It's kind of like he helps them in the Spade Saga, but no, like the Veto is like a good ass villain. Like, he didn't have like a lot of foreshadowing or build up because his whole villain arc is contained in one arc, but it was really good. Like, the whole theme of despair and his overconfidence leading to his downfall, and that displayed a very good reasoning for like why negative mana has drawbacks. Because remember, he used the third eye, and that made him way stronger. But we know that negative mana also messes up with your mind and it makes you dumber. And that's why Veto lost. Veto lost because he was so dumb. He let Asta stab him with the Demon Dweller sword. And that's like the reason why he lost. So it was a really good, like, just in character why he lost. Because he just overconfident. Everybody he fought, he kind of held back because he just wanted to make them despair. Because the humans had made him despair. Like, his flashbacks are peak. Like, so Veto is definitely an underrated villain. Like, he's definitely my number 2. Number 3, I'm gonna have to go Lucius Sagratis. I think that he definitely will be number 1 when it's all said and done, but we just don't have enough yet. And he really might actually be higher, but it's just so much harder to compare characters who kind of have their arcs done, like Patri and Veto, whereas Lucius has a long ways to go. So I don't think I even need to go into why Lucius is a great villain. I think you guys can all just kind of just understand just by the mention of his name. So yeah, so it's definitely Lucius Sagratis at number 3. Number 4, this is where it kind of gets tougher. Number 4, it's probably going to be Zenon. I think Zenon's actually a pretty interesting character. And, first off, his design is peak. And it's hard to say, right? Because we don't really get to know too much about him. But we get a little bit. Tabata can be very implicit with his storytelling, like how we learn that Zenon's contract, that their contract kind of works as long as Beelzebub allows the Spade Kingdom to survive. Like, I'm gonna go look at the chapter and see if I can find the exact wording. Because out of the 3 siblings, Zenon is like the least evil. And I think it's not even close. Like, his flashback chapter with Alan really just boosted him up. So, Zenon says to Beelzebub, if, as our contract stipulates, the Spade Kingdom is able to continue existing, I'll even give you my soul. And so then he becomes a devil. So if we look at that, and then we also look at another very implicit line, which kind of explains his character a lot in comparison to his siblings. I'll go find it. It's at the end of the Yuno fight. Wait, wrong chapter. 238. No, Morris cannot be on this list, unfortunately, Bega, because Morris is the worst villain I've ever seen. Unfortunately. Okay. And then we have this line. from Zenon, where it says, "For the benefit of the Spade Kingdom." So this is like showing that Zenon is doing what he's doing for the Spade Kingdom. And I always thought it was interesting, because we know that Dante, and even Vanica too, they were doing this because they wanted to bring malice into the world. Whereas Zenon's doing this because, as his contract stipulates with Beelzebub, he wants to keep the Spade Kingdom, like the kingdom that he loves. And this is all kind of added with the flashback with Alan, where, you know, Lucius was telling Zenon to become a devil host. And then Zenon, like, rejected it and just, he wanted to work with Alan. He wanted to essentially become the Spades version of the Wizard King. He wanted to save people. He wanted to protect the Spade Kingdom. And then he saw how strong a devil was. And then he saw how helpless he was. And how he had to basically kill his best friend to kill the devil and save everybody. Which completely changed him as a person. Because then he, after this, he immediately goes right to Lucius and becomes a devil host with him. Like, I'm sure Lucius tells him what to do. And then it gets even crazier. Like, Zenon, because of this, because of the way he's affected, he goes even further beyond than just becoming a devil host. He literally becomes a devil. And Yuno essentially teaches Zenon the lesson that Zenon may not have had to kill Alan. Yuno essentially spared Zenon because he didn't want to kill Longris, and that led to a bunch of shit, but ultimately, Zenon lost. Because Yuno, at the very least, trusted in his own morality and his own power just in case he failed, and then he still won. So, you know, Zenon was so adamant about not becoming a devil host, and was probably manipulated by Lucius to become not just a devil host, but to become a literal devil. And I think he's just a different type of villain, because he is a villain, but he did just want to protect the country. Like, he didn't seem like the guy who really wanted malice in the world. But he still was working with them. Maybe because he's manipulated by Lucius. Maybe it's because they're his siblings. I don't know. But he definitely is, he's up there and doing pretty good. Number 5 is a hard one. Like, I kind of want to go Dante. I don't know. Like, I do kind of want to, like, my true number 5, I cannot put on this list, because that's going to be the person that is going to be discussed in Black Clover's Deepest Rabbit Hole. So, what you guys will see, hopefully this weekend, it'll probably be this weekend when I release the video. It might have to be pushed back to next week, because it's going to be over 40 minutes long. Sorry, guys, maybe no upload this week, but we'll see. I just have so much school. But that person would be number 5, maybe even higher if some of my theories become true, because they're already very high supported. But that person probably would be number 5, maybe even higher. So who is my number 6 or my number 5 for this list? Because I'm not going to tell you my real number 5. That's a hard one. I almost kind of want to say Lord Freeze from Black Clover Quartet Knights. I think he's actually a pretty decent and interesting villain. If you guys haven't read the Quartet Knights manga or played the game, you probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You can watch the entire movie, like a movie clip of the game, and just see the character. But Lord Freeze was a commoner or a peasant, I can't remember. He's one of those two. But he turned his house into like a noble house. Like he was wealthy, he had power, but the nobles and the royals of the Clover Kingdom did not want to have that. They didn't want a commoner or a peasant rising up of their own hard work or their own skill. They didn't like that. So they basically screwed him over and then he becomes the villain of Quartet Knights. He's the main villain, even though like he's pretty messed up because he manipulates and takes control of his own daughter's body. His daughter is Karna, and Karna is like friends, maybe even a bit more than friends with Yami, and it's just really cool stuff. Like he has this device that goes back and forth in time, so yeah, time travel is a kind of a decent component of the game. Um, but he just kind of had like a more grounded and realist motivation for becoming a villain. He wanted to destroy the Clover Kingdom because it basically the entire bureaucracy of the Clover Kingdom betrayed him. He in the Clover Kingdom was a commoner or peasant. He rose up and become the same wealth and power of a noble, and the nobles and the royals did not like that. So they just basically the nobles and the royals sent magic knights after him to kill him. And like it was nobles, royals, so it was the people, the aristocrats, it was the people in power that had, political power, the royals, and the military power, the magic knights. All three aspects of the kingdom betrayed him and killed him, and basically tried to sully his house's name by doing that. And so yeah, I think that he actually had a very realistic rise to becoming a villain. Yeah, well, I don't remember if he had moonlight magic or if it was just Karna that had it, and he was just using her power when he took over her body. But yeah, Quartet Knights is a good game, good story. One of the most underrated anime games. Hopefully the next Black Clover game is like Quartet Knights in terms of gameplay, but they actually promote the game. Because it's so funny how many people who are very big Black Clover fans do not know that Black Clover Quartet Knights exist. So, yeah, I think that's my top 5. You got number 1, Patri, number 2, Veto, number 3, Lucius, number 4, Zenon, and number 5, Lord Freeze.